Hello, welcome to ComSpark. Today we're in Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Jason Townsend, and I am on the Executive Host Committee for ComSpark, and I will be your guest host today. Today, we are here with Eric Satterly, CIO of Bellarmine University. Thanks for joining us, Eric.
My pleasure.
How important do you think information technology is at a traditional liberal arts university such as Bellarmine?
Well, I'm going to have to admit to a little bit of bias here, but I think it's extremely important. Really, if you think about information technology, we strive to deliver a fantastic user experience and create value. And we hopefully can do that by abstracting some of the things that don't seem to be as apparent to users, things like recoverability and security, capacity. And really, if you think about information technology at a university, it really touches everybody in one of two ways, on the academic computing side or on the administrative computing side. And on the administrative side, we really try to make things easier, reduce the friction for students, even for faculty and staff in using administrative systems, trying to make their transactions easy, seamless, and then really add value to that through things like data analytics. How can we increase and enhance the experience? And on the academic computing side, it's extremely important. It's really the way that education, which is our product, is delivered. And so we try to find ways to add value in the academic side.
Eric, could you talk a little more about the future of higher education from an information technology perspective? Especially, what are the technical innovations happening in the space, and how is Bellarmine responding?
Well, sometimes you think about higher education technology as not being all that innovative, but in reality, there's a lot of things happening in this space. Education gets delivered over distance, and that's kind of becoming table stakes for most institutions to have some mechanism to do distance education, and very important. But doing that effectively is a real challenge. So there's a big uplift in taking a traditional lecture-based course and putting that online, but really adding value to that through new and innovative technologies such as augmented or virtual reality requires a bigger uplift. And it's a real challenge for smaller schools to be able to do that. We have to really rely on publishers to develop content specifically for those delivery mechanisms. As well, we have really smart people and can do some pretty clever things, but we can't do them on the scale of a larger, really innovative university like maybe an Arizona State. So we have to be very strategic in the initiatives that we take on, and make sure that we can rely on partners to help us supplement the things that are more transactional for us, so that we can really put our efforts in where they have the most impact for our students.
Okay. Given your views on the future of higher ed technology, how do you approach strategic technology planning for an institute like Bellarmine?
Well, it's interesting. When you think about strategic planning, I think the first thing you have to do is understand the mission of the university, understand the strategic goals of the university, and make sure that you're in alignment with those. Beyond that, another thing that's very important is to really understand where you are with your university and with all the assets you have. What's your capacity? And really, what's your capacity in terms of your people, process, and technology? So you're probably going to be richer in some areas than others, and so you have to develop plans and practices to supplement in places where you may have a deficit, and figure out how to build out and grow that. I once heard a CIO tell me that sometimes it's a little less about vision and a little more about observation. And I think that's pretty true. When you really think about aligning and building a plan, how do you stack the things that you're trying to move for strategically so that you can make sure that you're actually able to achieve success, and then use that to build and add capacity throughout the life of that plan.
Okay. What's the strategic planning process for Bellarmine look like? Is that a 1-year vision, 3-year, 5-year?
Well, for our university, we have a 5 to 7 year strategic plan. So we have a new president, Dr. Donovan, that's been with us for about 18 months, and really embarked on a strategic planning framework for all of Bellarmine that encompasses about a 7-year approach. I think that's a lot harder from an information technology standpoint. Technology changes very rapidly. There's things that we don't even know are going to be opportunities for us in the future span of a 5 to 7 years. So from our information technology standpoint, we like to back our strategic vision down to kind of a 3-year cast, and really look at what we're doing over the next 3 years, try to put our big markers out, move towards those over 2 years, and then in that third year start to reevaluate kind of revision cast that plan. So I think from an information technology standpoint, you can have some huge directional things out there that are long-term, but you really have to be reevaluating on a much more rapid cycle than the overall institution.
Great, thanks. Eric, information security, as you know, continues to be a growing challenge across many verticals. What are your thoughts on how the higher ed space is handling this challenge?
Well, I think it's a real challenge in higher ed. We are under all of the same attacks that corporations are under across all different verticals. But an interesting thing about higher ed is we tend to be full of trust and certainly try to have just an open environment where people can have academic freedom and exploration. And that's really important in higher ed. And I think sometimes that concept of trust can lead to users being too trusting to different attackers that may approach. So we have to really work hard on the user education standpoint and to try to bring people up to realize that not everybody out there is a good actor. Beyond that, a lot of times we don't have the scale to handle the onslaught of information security problems that arise. And so one of the things that's kind of an interesting aspect of higher education is the very open and collaborative nature of our work. So, in higher ed, from the IT standpoint, really across all of the university, we see colleagues at other universities as our friends. And so IT professionals will get together across universities and work to make each other better. So we'll share tips, things that are working, we'll share problems, challenges, sometimes we'll ask for help. And by and large, everybody across the space is very helpful. In fact, universities throughout Kentucky, we've kind of gotten together and started talking about maybe building like a task force to help smaller institutions with security incident response when they're just not blessed with the resources to be able to handle an attack or an incident that they get. Maybe we could work together and kind of dispatch teams to help. So lots of challenges, but I think we can take the things that we are gifted with and really use those to benefit and improve our information security.
Absolutely. Definitely a fine line between valid research and studies and malicious activity, that's for sure. Well, I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
For additional information, please visit ComSpark at comspark.tech.